Oh my goodness, people. Last week, Sony unveiled some of their new stuff that's coming out in 2024. I mean, I just personally haven't had a chance to get around to it until now. So here are my personal thoughts on Sony's new lineup and what's coming out. And according to my Sony contact, I will be getting most of the new stuff that's coming out. A whole suite of things should be coming my way pretty soon here in the next few weeks. So if you aren't already, I would suggest that you subscribe because in the next few months, I will be doing a whole lot of Sony, just so you know. So without further ado, let's see what Sony is launching in 2024. All right, before I get into the products themselves, I did have a meeting online, a Zoom meeting with my Sony contact about this whole launch and all the stuff that's coming out, all the new features that are going to be on the TVs, etc. When they had this secret home theater event back in March, which I was invited to, but I just couldn't fit it into my schedule, so I was really disappointed with that. But we at least had this sit down so he could go over what they talked about at the launch. And the interesting thing is, like, Sony just literally from start to finish, they have it all, not just involving movies in particular. I mean, they do have cameras. They do have Sony IMAX cameras certified. The most popular example he used was Top Gun Maverick because they used a bunch of Sony IMAX cameras mounted in the cockpit, etc. But the thing is, it's not just about the filmmaking process. It jumps over to the home theater experience as well. You know how Disney has the volume now where they film a lot of stuff and it's more interactive that way and actors can actually see what's going on and they can be in the moment and present even more so than if it was just a green screen. So on the Sony lot down in Culver City, California, I mean, they have their own volume, so to speak. They have their own audio dubbing stages. But one thing to note is that the color science that is involved in their chips, in their cameras, they all have the same color science built into it, which is the same color science that's implemented into these new TVs that they're launching. And I'm pretty sure it's not just this new set of TVs that are coming out this year. I believe it started with last year's models, if I'm not mistaken. But really, owning a Sony TV nowadays, you are truly getting a full circle experience seeing what the filmmaker actually intended. Because on set, they have particular monitors that are so many nits and they can apply LUTs and all kinds of crazy stuff to make it look the way they want on set, but then also apply those same things to what's happening in the home theater experience. So I think it's really cool that every step along the way, Sony is a part of that, or can be a part of that if you are a Sony loyalist or are maybe thinking of going down the Sony route with your home theater system. And let's not forget, with Disney Plus finally supporting DTS audio with their IMAX Enhanced launch on May 15th of this year, Sony TVs support IMAX Enhanced and DTS:X, so you could use the built-in apps on your Sony TVs as long as you have an IMAX Enhanced supported soundbar or AVR. You now don't only have the option of going with Dolby Atmos in those circumstances. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up before we get to the products themselves, just because they really do care about the full gamut, you know, not just the cinema experience, but also the home cinema experience. So what you get from Sony cameras will be what you see on your television as well. Wild stuff. So anyway, let's get to the products that they're going to be launching. Now, one thing to note is that Sony is diving into the Bravia brand. Sony Bravia TVs have been around for quite some time now, but just to kind of have more cohesiveness with their home theater products in general, no longer is it HTA9. Everything home theater related is going to have the Bravia name attached to it from now on. So with the new TVs that they are coming out with in 2024, there are 4 tiers. Foundation, which is their budget tier, Core, which is a step above that, Premium, and lastly, Flagship. And one thing that they demonstrated at this secret event in March is that the new Bravia TVs have incredibly advanced backlight technology. So much so, in fact, that during this presentation, they took off the LED panel so you could just see the backlight panel behind it. And as you can see from a few of these pictures here, is that you can start to see detail just from the backlight compared to this Samsung TV that they put it next to, where it's just light, really. But in the case of the Bravia TVs, you can kind of make out what's kind of going on even without all of the color. So that alone is already going to get you a clearer picture with more detail than your standard backlit television. The new Bravia TVs will also use less power, which is better for the environment. All right, so let's start with the foundation. That's the Bravia 3. The Bravia 3 has new dynamic HDR, upgraded brightness and contrast direct LED lighting, new Tri-Luminous Pro, upgraded color performance, rich, accurate colors, and a new user experience with Eco Dashboard 2, and a new eco-friendly remote. The Bravia 3 comes in a wide range of sizes from 43, 50, 55, 65, 75, and 85 inches. Next up in the core tier of TVs, they don't have anything new, but they will still be selling the X90L TV, which is a full array LED TV. And along with that, in the next tier up, the premium tier, they will still be pushing the A90K TV that they've had going on for a year or two now. But in that premium tier, the new TV is the Bravia 7 Mini LED TV. It has the same lighting control as the flagship model, which we're about to talk about, but it has less zones and brightness. And honestly, it has similar performance to the 2023 flagship X95L. And it has 790% more dimming zones than the X90L. It also has new acoustic multi-audio, dual woofers built into the panel, dual mid-range drivers, and sound position tweeters. Normally, I don't care whatsoever what a TV can provide speaker-wise, because I know it's not gonna come anything close to my home theater speakers. But as soon as I get the Bravia 7 in this testing theater of mine, I'm gonna test it out, just the TV by itself, because I'm very curious to know just how improved the audio is coming just from the TV. It'll have acoustic center sync, of course, which is phenomenal, especially if you have a Sony AVR, which supports acoustic center sync so that your center channel will be coming directly out of the TV, which is actually really cool if you happen to have a soundbar from Sony, or perhaps you have an HT-A9, which does not have a center channel. So the fact that you have a center channel coming out of the TV as well, that all syncs up together, very cool feature. But another thing that the Bravia 7 has that is new is Voice Zoom 3. You may have seen Caleb Dennison's kind of overview of this new Sony lineup as well, because he was actually at the event. And I watched his video on it, and he talked about Voice Zoom 3, because typically if you have some sort of dialogue enhancement, whether that be on your AVR or on your TV itself, dialogue enhancement up until now typically means they'll just take the frequencies that are involved with the human voice. So probably somewhere around 1,000 to 1,400 hertz or so. They're gonna kind of zoom in on those frequencies and boost just those frequencies, which is fine. But if it's boosted too much, it can sound really unnatural because you're boosting those frequencies. So even sound effects and music and stuff will also be boosted if they happen to be in that same frequency range. So it can start to get really weird and sound tinny or just off, right? But the thing about Voice Zoom 3, also according to Caleb Dennison, is that it's AI powered. So it's not just taking certain frequencies and boosting them. It is literally finding those voices and enhancing just the voices, ignoring everything else. Obviously, this is something I want to also kind of mess around with and hear for myself and see if it's just as good as Caleb Dennison said it was. I'm sure he's not lying. But I mean, this is the future. I mean, not just kind of playing around with frequencies, but using AI technology to enhance something in a more realistic, natural way, which is something we all need right now because we all know dialogue clarity is an issue right now, especially when you're watching streaming content. So we all know that issue's probably not going away anytime soon, so technology like this is helping to improve that issue. Another thing to note with this Bravia 7 is that it has Prime Video calibrated mode. Apparently now they have a partnership with Prime Video, so anything you watch on the Bravia 7 and the flagship Bravia 9 on Prime Video will be calibrated to a certain standard. Because everybody, Netflix, Disney Plus, Max, whoever, they have their own technology behind it and their own algorithm on how to compress video quality and make it look nice or detailed or whatever. So I guess Prime Video specifically will look even better on the Bravia 7 and Bravia 9. I guess something else that I'll have to test out when I get it in my theater. It also comes with Eco Dashboard 2 and a new eco-friendly remote. The Bravia 7 comes in a range of sizes from 55, 65, 75, and 85. Also in the premium tier is the Bravia 8, which is an OLED TV. It has new upgraded performance, increased brightness from the A80L, and acoustic surface audio, where it's got a lot of drivers built into the frame itself. It's got a new design, 31% thinner than the A80L, and up to 29% slimmer bezel than the A80L. And it also has the Prime Video calibration mode, Eco Dashboard 2, and new eco-friendly remote. The Bravia 8 sizes are 55, 65s, and 77, but they will continue to sell the 83-inch A80L. All right, in the flagship tier, they will still be selling the QD OLED A95L, as well as the 8K Mini LED Z9K. Those will still be around. But the new Bravia 9 will have that new XR backlight master drive technology. It is 50% brighter than the X95L and 325% more dimming zones than the X95L, and powered by the XR processor and QLED panel. It also has all the audio features I mentioned in the Bravia 7, the dual woofers, the dual mid-range drivers, but one thing that sets it apart from the Bravia 7 is that the Bravia 9 has dual beam tweeters that basically beam some audio out of the very top of the frame, just to give you a little bit more immersion. And of course, it also has that new Voice Zoom 3 and acoustic center sync, and also Prime Video calibration, Eco Dashboard 2, and a 20% power reduction, and a USB-C rechargeable backlit remote. And the Bravia 9 will come in 65, 75, and 85-inch sizes. So with these new televisions, speaking of the Bravia 9, 8, and 7 specifically, they will have the new Sony XR processor, where hundreds of thousands of points analyzed within each frame of video. Another thing to note is that the Bravia Core streaming platform that's been around for many years now, it is now being rebranded to be called Sony Pictures Core. Still the same thing, you still get a lot of IMAX enhanced stuff with incredible picture quality and IMAX enhanced streaming audio. In fact, if you do subscribe to the Sony Pictures Core streaming platform, the audio will stream up to 80 megabits per second. 80. Although I did ask my Sony contact about that, and he said that is if you have download speeds up to, I think he said 150 megabits per second. So if your internet speeds aren't that great, you might not get up to 80 megabits per second streaming audio. But if you do have 150 megabits per second download speeds, you know, say if you're living in a major metropolitan area and you have gigabit internet, you know, then yeah. Netflix is still, I think, 760 something kilobits per second when it comes to streaming audio. And that includes Dolby Atmos streaming. So not even a megabit per second compared to up to 80 megabits per second. I mean, it kind of makes me want to subscribe to Sony Pictures Core once I get the Bravia 7. Another thing to note about the Voice Zoom 3 audio technology is that it's not just turn it on and off. I believe it has 5 levels of adjustment. So if you really need that dialogue to come through a lot cleaner, you can put it all the way up to the max to 5. Or if you just need a little bit, you can put it 1, whatever. So that's pretty cool that it has that option where it's not just on or off. And also another thing to note on the beam tweeter reflection technology on the Bravia 9 specifically, according to the information I got from my Sony contact, the beam tweeters are designed to reflect audio off the ceiling. And the frame tweeters are designed to project sound outward for enhanced sound width. So unfortunately, I won't have the Bravia 9 to test that out in my theater, but pretty cool that stuff like this is being built into the TV. So yeah, that's just a quick overview of the television side of the new Sony lineup. All right, let's get into the audio side of things. And again, just a reminder, everything is now branded with the Bravia name, specifically Bravia Theater. And they have 3 tiers, the personal tier, premium tier, and flagship tier. So starting off the personal tier, you may have seen this review I did of the portable HT-AX7, where you have that little speaker in front and then 2 little pucks for your surrounds. I'm guessing it wasn't as popular as they had hoped. So apparently they're scrapping that. Now they're going to give you the Bravia Theater U, which is a stereo system that goes around your neck and just hangs there. And inside it has 2 X-balanced speaker units. What's cool is that it can be standalone if you're watching something on your phone or a laptop or something, or in conjunction with your TV or soundbar. So you can still have audio coming out of the TV or your soundbar and have the Theater U around your neck. Like say if you just need a particular boost in dialogue enhancement, really, if you just need it to be a little bit closer, which I think is kind of cool if you're needing to have it a little less loud at night. Say if you've got kids that are going to bed and you don't want to wake them up with some crazy movie you're watching, you can have a little bit more intimate experience that way. And the unit itself has its own independent volume control, which is cool. It's got a new 360 spatial sound personalizer tuned for your ears. I don't know what that means, but I will find out when they send me one. So the curiosity in me was like, yeah, duh, I want to review that as well. Another thing to note is that if you do have the Bravia 7, 8, or 9, the Theater U will support Dolby Atmos audio. So it has a new design and user experience. It's lightweight and flexible with a 12-hour battery life with a quick charge feature, which can give you 1 hour of listening time with only a 10-minute charge. Obviously, it's not for everyone, but again, I'm just curious to know what it's like. So I'm excited to test it out. All right, moving on, we got the Bravia Theater Bar 8. New 11 speaker units, high-res tweeters, supreme music quality and upscaling. And the Theater Bar 8 also has the new Voice Zoom 3 built in, if it's being used in conjunction with the Bravia 7, 8, or 9. It has new and improved 360 spatial sound mapping, auto calibration with sound field optimization, and it can be used as a standalone soundbar or with optional rear speakers and subwoofers. Speaking of subwoofers, they haven't come out with a new version. They still just have the SW3 and SW5 wireless subwoofers, which currently I have an SW3, but my contact did say he was going to be sending me an SW5. So that's cool. I can't wait to hear the difference between those two. The Theater Bar 8 is a little bit smaller and sleeker. It is 30% smaller than the HT-A5000. And it supports the Bravia Connect app, and it has HDMI 2.1 input. All right, moving on to the flagship tier, the new Bravia Theater Bar 9. It is a new 13 speaker unit, which has beam tweeters and high-res tweeters, side-firing woofers, along with Voice Zoom 3. And of course, it also has the new and improved 360 spatial sound mapping. It can be used as a standalone unit or with the optional surround and subwoofers. It is 36% smaller than the HT-A7000 and supports the Bravia Connect app and HDMI 2.1. All right, and probably the most notable addition to the audio side of things is the new Bravia Theater Quad, which is the successor to the HT-A9. Clearly, it has a new aesthetic. It looks completely different. It is no longer the very tall cylindrical speakers. They look more like little square panels. But within those panels, you've got woofer, mid-range, tweeter, and up-firing height drivers. Of course, it also supports Voice Zoom 3 and AI sound separation, and supports acoustic center sync. It supports the new and improved 360 spatial sound mapping, and I personally think you're going to get a more enhanced room-filling spatial audio experience with something like this because you can make them a little wider than the TV and really fill the space as opposed to being confined to the footprint of the soundbar itself. As you can see, they come with little stands, so you can set them on top of a surface, or you can put them on speaker stands, or you can wall mount them because there is a screw in the back of it. But just like the HT-A9, it is all powered by this little hub that you connect to your television, and then it sends all that audio out wirelessly. And yes, it supports the Bravia Connect app and HDMI 2.1. To be honest, when I first saw the new redesign, I thought, what is going on here? But it has definitely grown on me, especially because not everyone is gonna like the cylindrical look, especially if you're wanting to mount a cylinder. It just doesn't mount as well because it just sticks out. But this is going to be a lot sleeker, especially if you have them mounted on a wall, the front speakers. So we'll see when I get to test this out. I'm really excited because for the longest time, I tried to get the HT-A9, but it was just so popular I never could. So I am really excited that I get to test out the successor to the HT-A9. Move it on up, folks. All right, so that's it as far as the new products are concerned. But let me just hit on a couple more features in general with this new Bravia theater line coming out. Another thing I'm excited about is just the gaming features that are built into Sony TVs. I personally don't own a next-gen gaming console like an Xbox Series X or PS5, but my brother-in-law has a PS5. So once I get the Bravia 7 in my theater, I will be borrowing his PS5 because I really want to check out 4K 120 Hertz gaming. I've never done that before, but I'm really stoked for this idea where, you know, it's a PS5, which is made by Sony, and it's a Sony TV. So they're just going to be so compatible with each other that I'm excited for the result. And just like for many years now, all the Sony TVs will support all the gaming features you need, like 4K HDR, Dolby Vision, 4K 120 Hz support, variable refresh rate, auto low latency mode. So yeah, I honestly can't wait to play games as they were intended. Okay, and that's about it, folks. Just an overview, because obviously I don't have these products in hand or in my possession yet. But yeah, like I said, my Sony contact said I'll be getting pretty much a TV, both new soundbars, the Bravia Theater Quad, and the Theater U. So yeah, just a reminder again, please subscribe if you haven't already so you can see my take on this new line of stuff that's coming out. I don't typically get a whole slew of new products like this all at once. So this is new for me, but I'm looking forward to it. So it'll take me probably a couple months to get all these reviews out. Hooray for spring and summer. All right, so what say you, people watching this video? Are you excited about Sony's new lineup? And I promise, just like all of my reviews, I'm going to be as transparent as possible. I mean, yes, this is very cool stuff, and I'm very enticed by it, but I will still give my honest opinion. But how things are looking right now, I mean, I may be leaning towards Sony TVs from now on, after my LG C9 has been in my theater for many years now. So we'll see if my LG OLED, it'll be the first time I have a mini LED TV to test out. Because since their flagship Bravia 9 is also mini LED and not OLED, kind of makes me think that that's the way of the future at this point. Maybe OLED has had its heyday and it's kind of starting to be phased out. Do you already have a Sony TV or Sony products and you're just a Sony loyalist and nothing but Sony from here on out? Let's have a conversation, people. As always, this world is as crazy as it is, so it only makes sense to be kind to each other out there. Don't just watch TV and movies, experience them, maybe with some Sony products. And of course, always be listening.